All right, so part two of this shoulder circuit, shoulder cure, whatever you want to call it, we're going to look at the stretching portion of this. So I kind of have it broken down on the wall here. Probably can't see too well on the camera, but this is a cheat sheet for me. Maybe I'll get a snapshot of this for you guys. But what it's broken down here is we're looking at anterior and posterior sides of the shoulder, but also the support network anteriorly and posteriorly of all the muscles associated with the shoulder blades, and everything around there. So really think of this big picture of not just the shoulder itself and the rotator cuffs and the deltoids and things like that. There's really so much more going on around there in terms of the lats, the pecs, traps, rhomboids, all those muscles that are all connected to it, all the way from the spine on all the way out towards the limb. That's all connected here, and you'll find that there's so much that's connected all the way even down to the hip and below, and something in your foot is affecting your shoulder and so on. So that's something you'll notice as you start going through some of these stretches. So, but real simply put, this is broken down into anterior, posterior, and then to a bilateral, and then to a unilateral version of this. So you can strip all this down to simple unilateral versions of this, anterior, posterior, and make it quick and dirty and sort of a cure-all. So hopefully you don't have any unilateral problems, but as you go through this bilaterally, it's sort of a big picture, sort of broad stroke. That's one thing, and it's a great preventative measure. So for, say you're in a CrossFit class or something like that, it's a great thing to just work in and do on a day-to-day basis. But if you have any asymmetries as you go through this, you definitely want to spend time on that side to get your bad side as symmetrical as possible to the good side. So that's your assessment, good side to bad side, and feel this out as you go. But on the stretch here, we have a bilateral series that we're going to hit first, and then a unilateral series that will hit second, and then mix and match these as you feel necessary. So first part on the interior side here is going to be the around the world stretch. Excuse me, we're going to start on the posterior side here. So we're going to go to the posterior because I do this any way you like, but I typically like doing the posterior side so I can spend more time on the interior side and, where I feel more bang for the buck. But when I lengthen up the posterior side here, I can get more range on the interior side as a result. So I'm de-inhibiting that side of it. So the posterior side here, you can get any sort of object that works best for you, band, rope, cable, whatever, but you want something sturdy. If it's too light, it's not going to give you much help or resistance. Even the pole here would work fine. But essentially, this posterior stretch here would start, let's say we'll just go up above here, and I'm going to use this jump rope. It's nice and sturdy here. But I'm going from a vertical to a horizontal pull. It's very simple. So I'm just trying to vertically pull and open up the lats from a vertical anchor point there. And I'm just stretching and lengthening my body down and breathing nice and deeply. And I'm pulling my hips down away from my shoulders and letting my scapula and everything just extend. And I'm hanging on that tissue and just letting everything go up. And I'm getting a bilateral stretch in those lats, letting everything just hang there. And as I do that, I'm opening up those shoulder blades and sort of flexing out the spine and protruding it and shifting my weight to more of a horizontal focus there, to where my lats and my spine are more in a horizontal fashion to the anchor point there. And I'm going to start opening that up there and still opening those scapula and shoulder blades. So we talk about the postural position all the time and packing things down. This is sort of the anti-approach to that, to open everything back up and to get that all lengthened back up. So we're starting vertical, working toward a horizontal pull there is what our goal is here. And we'll start getting to where we're doing more of a unilateral sort of cheat on that. But that's the basic goal, though, is just to kind of start in a broad stroke of opening from a vertical pull all the way down to horizontal and going from lats more to rhomboids, traps, from top to bottom all the way down there. So that's your simple start here on the posterior side. Then to the interior side, bilateral, we will go to the around the world stretch. And this is really where I give most of my credit to. And if you do nothing else, this around the world stretch is worth the price of admission here. So you can use the rope, that's fine. You can use the same object for all this, keep it simple, but preferably you have something with two ends on it, so the cable or the rope here. But you are going to start with the shoulders up here in a fully flexed position overhead, or you could call this the I position or whatever, or a jerk overhead lockout, whatever you want to call it there. But you're going to find the stretch point here where your arms are overhead, as locked out as possible in terms of the elbow. You don't want any compensations there. Nice and long, and you're leaning in. And at first, if you have, depending on if you have an injury or what's going on with your shoulders, you want to consider how much tension and pressure you're going in. So as you start going down, you're going to get this goofy stuff in the shoulder that's not feeling so well. So you want to be tread really lightly on that and sort of keep your RP of, say, 10 being the most pain. Keep it around a 7 at first, and then slowly, as you get comfortable with it, start ratcheting that up to an 8 and 9-ish maybe at the most. But I found that my most progress was in that 9 pain zone on various angles of the stretch where I felt the hardest stretch for that injury site. So you got to tread lightly on that and be smart about it, but build it with tolerance as you go on this. So starting up at the top, we're working our way around the world here basically, so you're getting out to more of a snatch grip there toward a wide position with the shoulders there, and you're leaning forward there, and I am trying to keep my shoulder blades back and down here and stretching the soft tissue there, so I'm not shrugged up or anything weird like that. I'm pulling back and down, and you'll get some cervical popping in there, and then I'm starting to get a little bit of a harder stretch in this side of the shoulder here, so I'm making sure I'm not internally rotating that shoulder there. I'm trying to keep them down, but I am trying to find the point of that best stretch there, and I might hang on that a little bit longer. Since I feel more on the left side, I kind of cheat to that side a little bit and try to just hang there for a little bit. You can stretch, contract, relax type stuff there, whatever. Just lean and breathe deeply. Taking your time on this, working your way all the way down, and still keeping your chest up there if you can as much as possible. And you see how my hands are slightly turning down there to where my knuckles are facing the floor. They were forward before, and they're slowly going down towards the floor, keeping the chest up. And you're going to this sort of shoulder extension position here, and sort of a skin the cat sort of position here, and keeping that chest up, shoulders back, and knuckles are still facing up. Once you get to that point there, you'll just basically turn the knuckles and palms upwards there and come a little bit closer if you can. Hold that stretch, and then you basically work your way back up to the top, or just reset at the top basically. And so what you're going for here is a nice, slow duration all the way down from top to bottom. No rush on that. When I first started doing this, I'd spend several minutes on one rep of this. So I usually do 2 to 3 good reps, taking all the time in the world I need to work my way from top to bottom and work out that tight spot. And when I get to that one little hinge that I might have, spend a lot of time on that. And that right there was a big eye-opener for me. And the big thing is we're working on that shoulders complex range and the huge range it has from top to bottom there. And I was finding all kinds of progress working in here, getting that shoulder into an extension. But then you'll see we'll start going to internal rotation and things like that in a second on both sides, and really put all the range of motion of the shoulder together. So that's the simple bilateral around the world stretch, starting top, working your way bottom. So review again, we quickly would have, say, the posterior bilateral version here, going vertical for the lats, working your way mid-back horizontal, then you would simply flip right to the top for around the world to hit the anterior side, working top to bottom all the way down, flipping in, and right back up. So far, that's the general broad stroke for the bilateral approach. From there, we would go into the unilateral series, and it's pretty much the same thing, except unilaterally with a few extra pieces in this. So however you coordinate it and choreograph this doesn't matter. Like I said, to do what works for your shoulder the best and for your amount of time. But first, we're going to a vertical lat stretch. And again, whatever you like for these pieces, you'll have to choke up on some of these for the right position. Sometimes my hands get so tired from holding that thing, I don't like using the handle even anymore, or hold on to anything. So I literally just lasso that hand around to the rope, and that does a better job of helping me pull the tissue I'm targeting there. So think of that if your hands are getting fatigued, and if this is squeezing and firing, it's going to work against your stretch there. So vertical lat first. We'll just go ahead and use that for demonstration's sake. And so I'm going back to that same idea of pulling from a vertical position there on one side. And this is really where I learned a lot about what was going on with the stabilizer for this shoulder, my injured side, was how tight this lat was compared to the other side. And so as I was getting that to release there, some days that was the only thing holding me back, to where getting that lat to release took away a lot of my impingement type pains that I was feeling. So lat stretch there, so vertical, then working towards the posterior pull there, facing the anchor, but then going towards your posterior capsule there, and supinate that hand and pull away if you can, pulling this meaty tissue away from the shoulder blade, just nice and gradually. Don't yank on it hard, but nice and smooth, and you might even feel the shoulder blade popping a bit as it goes across the rib cage there. And it feels great once that opens up. So vertical to horizontal to the posterior capsule to external rotation and abduction into sort of that snatch grip there, and go as high as you need to here wherever you feel that pain, but you're getting that pec minor to open up, and everything from the bicep into the elbow into the wrist and forearm opening up there. So turning away from that and opening that up as maximally as possible. And then finally we go into internal rotation and adduction there, to where we're going for that thumb up towards that opposite shoulder blade there, and you're getting a huge stretch here in the front side of that shoulder. And play with that as necessary. Get a little bit more of a stretch in there as you need to, depending on the way you lean. But you will find all kinds of fun stuff going from here, opening up the pec, to working in internal rotation on that shoulder there, and any of the rotator cuff involved with that. And that's a huge amount of range there. So again, on review, unilateral, we'll go vertical to horizontal, posterior capsule there, external rotation and abduction there, to internal rotation and abduction there. Bam. And that's the general full-blown circuit of the unilateral there. So we went all the unilateral stuff, bilateral, anterior, posterior to anterior, then unilateral versions of both sides. And sometimes I just do the injured side. You know, the thing is if you keep working at that one side only, you find that the other side starts becoming problematic. So I would give doses to both sides, of course, if you can. But still, also that good side is your reference point for your bad side to see how it's doing. Maybe you take some of the duration and time off the good side, so it's not, you're not chasing your tail. So maybe if you spend 30 seconds on one side, then maybe it's 15 seconds the other. However you decide to do that. But duration, we haven't really mentioned that too much. But I try to hold each position, if I can, at least 30 seconds for the most part, or until I feel it's done its job. But 30 seconds is a good minimum, but when I get to that tight spot that's really being productive, I try to keep the 2 minutes minimum if possible, or as long as possible, or when I feel that that the tension has been really taken out or released there. So typically when it comes to this stuff in corrective work and working out issues and kinks and trigger points, it's usually a function of doing it consistently enough, long enough, and hard enough. And you might be doing the right things, but you didn't do it consistently enough, long enough, and hard enough. And to win that recovery battle or that corrective battle, to get these tight tissues to kind of turn off or to work some of these correctives, you know, you might be doing the right thing, but you're not doing that series. And it just means that you're losing the battle in terms of the ratio of your workload compared to your recovery load or your corrective type load. So consistently enough, frequently enough, long enough, and hard enough. It's a little redundant, but so that's the stretch series there. And so you may combine it any way you like, but I'm going to do another quick rundown so you can see how quick it really is, because I've been very wordy here, but I just want you to really understand all the framework of this and what it means. But we'll put the whole thing together here from bilateral to unilateral, and then we'll go into the stretching portion next. So real quick, even using the pull here, we'll go vertical, working to horizontal, to around the world here. I'll use the cable. And you don't even have to use the handles, whatever you like. Starting at the top, working my way down, opening it up, finding those tight points, trying to keep those palms forward if you can there. Then working your way down. See, right there's my problem points. I would spend more time there and turn into that a little bit, trying to get it to feel like that other shoulder. Then working my way down and in, trying to stay tall, and working your way back up to the top there. Then to the unilateral version of this, I would just lasso this up here and start up nice and high, working lat, horizontal pull, posterior cuff, external rotation, abduction, and then internal rotation, abduction there. Bam, and that'll be the whole circuit, and then of course hitting your other arm as well. So the next series we'll go over the strengthening side of this to make the full thing come together.